we have multiple records of the same person, each coming in from a different source system. In this episode, we are going to use identity resolutions to merge these records into unified individuals and households. We'll also create data graphs to surface this unified context to downstream apps and agents in one API call. My name is Aditya, and I'm a developer advocate here at Salesforce. Let's get started. In the previous episodes, we ingested data from BigQuery, Salesforce CRM, and an external website. And from each of these systems, we mapped the customer's data to the individual data model object. If we look at the data in this individual DMO, you will notice that there are multiple entries for different people, like Alice, for example. One is from Google BigQuery and the other is from Salesforce. Identity resolution is the process of unifying both these entries into one single record. Identity resolution doesn't merge individual records. That is, it doesn't keep the winning individual record and delete the losing individual records. Instead, it creates a new unified individual record with the merged data. And this unified individual record is linked back to the source individuals using another junction DMO that is called unified link. The other DMOs retain their relationships to the original individual record, but through these link records, we have a way to link all this data back to a single unified individual. Let's see this in action. From the Identity Resolutions tab, click New and select the object you want to unify. In this case, it is the individual DMO. Next, give the rule set a name. And here you can see all the new unified DMOs and the unified link DMOs that will be created. Once you save, you select the match rules that define how Data 360 should decide if two or more individuals have to be unified. I'm using the out-of-the-box rule fuzzy name and normalized email, which unifies records with the exact same last name, exact same email, and a first name with slight variations. The out-of-the-box rules cover most common scenarios, but in real implementations, you'll likely need a custom rule. For example, you might want to match on a data point like loyalty card number, which is typically mapped to the identification number field on the Party Identification DMO. The Party Identification DMO stores multiple types of identifiers like passport numbers, driving license numbers, national IDs, and so on, all in the same identification number field, but differentiated by an identification type field. It might so happen that a loyalty card number like 12345 and a driving license number 12345 could belong to completely two different people. So if you match purely based on the number, you end up matching incorrect profiles. So you have to match based on both the number and the type. Let's configure this. Let's choose Party Identification as the object and identification number as the field. And the match method must be exact. Then to filter based on the identification type, let's go to the advanced settings and specify the identification type that you want to compare against. For my use case, I'm going to enter loyalty ID. So this rule will only match individuals whose loyalty numbers are the exact same. Once you are done, you can click Next and click Save. Once the rule set runs, you can view the summary right here. The job status here says that some records were skipped because in my source data, there are some email addresses for an individual ID that doesn't exist in the system. So double check your source data to debug issues like this. With the launch of the Data 360 MCP server as a part of our headless strategy, you can now work with Data 360 directly from AI assistants like Cursor and Claude Code. I've linked this announcement blog post in the description below. I've already set this MCP up in my Claude Code instance. When I ask about the status of the latest identity resolution, it will invoke the MCP to first identify the right tool and API for this job. And then it fires that tool to get me a response. Remember the warning we saw earlier on the identity resolution status page? If I ask about that, it points me to the exact record that caused this warning. Once I fix my source data based on this, I can rerun the rule set right from here without even having to go to the UI. Once the rule set runs, you can query the records from the unified individual DMO right from here. And notice there is a single record for Alice and others. Let's switch back to the UI and look at the same data from the Data Explorer. Let's copy the unified record ID for Alice. And if you go into the unified link DMO, you can see the mapping between the individual and unified individual IDs. So if we filter by the unified individual ID that we just copied, you can see the different individuals that have gone into this particular unified individual. When any system now wants Alice's context, it gets this unified view. That system needn't make 3 isolated calls to 3 separate systems. That's what separates a typical data integration with a context layer. Now let's talk about households. A household is nothing but a group of people or individuals who share the same last name and stay at the same address. Once created, a household can be used in segments, just like you would use individuals. And you can also add household members to data graphs, so that one call gives you the entire family history. So how does households help Pronto? First is insights. Alice as an individual, let's say, spends around $300. But her household may be spending more than that, like $2,000, making her a far more valuable customer for offers and discounts. Second is cost efficiency, mainly for marketing. Maybe they can send one email per household instead of multiple to every individual within that household. In Data 360, you can use identity resolution to create households as well. Using the out-of-the-box rules, a household is created by grouping unified individuals with the same last name and address. This process creates a unified household DMO, and all the individuals belonging to the household will be linked through the household member link DMO. In the example you are seeing on screen, you can see that the unified record of Alice has 2 addresses and the unified record of Bob has 1 address. Since both Alice and Bob share an address, they are grouped into one household. And Alice's second address creates a second household. So essentially what this means is that an individual can belong to multiple households depending on the number of addresses that they have. An important point to remember here is that while the matching itself happens on the unified individual and unified contact point address objects, the links themselves are created to the individual records and not the unified individual records. This is an architectural decision that we have taken to make the downstream processes simple. To create households, click New from the Identity Resolutions tab, and this time select Household as the primary DMO. Give the rule set an ID that will be appended to all the DMO names that will be created. Then enter the rule set name, and importantly select the unified individual rule set. The results of this rule set will be used to determine which unified individual records to combine into a household. Also take a look at the unified household DMOs that will be created for this role. Once saved, you must choose the match rules. In this case, we only have one out-of-the-box rule that says the unified individual must have the same address and a similar last name to be included in a household. Once the rule runs, you can see the summary of the households that have been created. Let's verify these results in Data Explorer. The household DMO itself doesn't have much except for an ID. The household member link is what is important. Let me filter this list with Alice's individual ID. And here I can see that Alice belongs to 2 households, one for each of her addresses. Let's now update the filter with one of her household IDs to see the members. It shows me 4 members, 2 of which are Alice and 2 are Bob. As I mentioned earlier, while the household matching happens on the unified individuals, the household links are created to the individuals themselves. The same information can be fetched much faster using the Data 360 MCP server we saw before. I simply ask if Alice and Bob belong to the same household. Claude queries the relevant DMOs and gives me a definitive answer. With this, we have created a pretty solid data foundation, which you can take a look from the Data Model tab. Here we have unified individuals that link back to individuals, and we have a lot of data that is related to the individual record, including households. Any system can now query data out of this foundation. Depending on your requirement, you might have to write separate queries to get data out of each and every object. But to make it easy for the entire context, that is all the related information about an individual, available with one query, we create data graphs. Once created, a data graph gives you all the information about an individual in JSON format that you can query using an API. These data graphs are typically processed in batch mode asynchronously, but you can also create real-time data graphs that process data in real time. To create a data graph, click New from the Data Graphs tab. Choose the type of data graph you want to create. Standard data graph is processed in batch mode, and real-time data graph is processed in real time. But it is important to remember that the real-time features require an add-on license and consumes more credits. In the next screen, you choose the root object, which will be unified individual. Give the data graph a name and click Next. And using the plus icon, you can keep adding all the related data that you want in the data graph. For each object that you add, you can even choose the fields that you want included. Once you've added all the fields and objects that you want, you can save and build, which will start processing the graph in the background. The data graph definition that you have just created is all metadata, which means you can create and access the metadata using APIs. So here is a Postman request that retrieves the metadata of the data graph that we just created. Notice it has all the objects and fields that we configured. Once a data graph is processed, you can use the Data Explorer to see the different data graphs that have been created. Since our root object is unified individual, one graph per unified individual is generated. And once you click View, you can see the JSON structure that includes the details of the unified individual and all the related records that we have chosen, like orders, cases, web events, household members, all in one place. The same data graph can be queried via APIs and made accessible to flows, LWCs, Marketing Cloud, Agentforce, and more. We'll dive deep into this in future episodes. This is what we call unified context. Data 360 sits between your data sources and apps, acting as a unified query interface. So your apps don't need to know whether the data is coming from Google BigQuery, Salesforce, or some other system. They just ask for context, and Data 360 provides that context to them. Now, all of this context, whether it is in your data model objects or in data graphs, is still sitting in Data 360. In the next episode, we are going to surface this context where people work, which is Salesforce CRM. I'll see you all there.